Welcome to The Explainer. Let's just dive right in, because we're looking at a fascinating, rapidly evolving world of EV charging in the US right now. Today, we're going to connect the dots between massive political battles over funding, hard market data on what's actually being built, and the cutting-edge tech that might just sidestep the traditional grid altogether.
To understand where the grid is going today, we'll look at this through a three-act panorama: the NEVI funding legal battle, Q2 2026 fast charging data, and finally, the mobile charging revolution.
Act 1. The policy front. Specifically, the battle over NEVI infrastructure funding.
We've got to start at the very top with macro-level federal policy. There's a major legal battle surrounding billions of dollars, and it directly impacts how fast the U.S. builds out its charging network. So let's track the friction we saw this year. The NEV program was signed into law under the Biden administration back in 2021, dedicating a whopping $5 billion to build out a highway network of EV chargers. But fast forward to early 2026, and the Trump administration suddenly froze the program. This triggered a massive response. We're talking 17 states suing the federal government in May over those withheld funds. Then, across June and July, a federal judge stepped in, granting an injunction and later a partial summary judgment to reinstate that funding.
Here's the rationale directly from U.S. District Judge Tana Lin. In her 57-page opinion, she stated that the sudden cessation of the program actually ran counter to the Administrative Procedure Act. Her argument was basically this: while the law empowers the Secretary of Transportation to do many things, taking a hiatus from executing a congressionally approved law is not one of them. She really emphasized that the system relies on consistency and continuity.
Now, on the flip side, the Department of Transportation vigorously defended the pause. They framed it as a necessary, short interruption to realign the program with new administrative priorities, specifically pointing to the inclusion of Buy America requirements. A DOT spokesperson argued the pause was actually highly effective. They noted that in just 5 months since issuing revised guidance, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy was able to obligate 39% more NEVI funds than had been obligated in the previous 3 years combined. So what we have here is a clear clash of administrative approaches currently being navigated in the federal courts.
Moving right along to Act 2 Market Performance, drawing from parents' Q2 2026 fast charging data.
So, while the policy debates happen in courtrooms, what is the market actually doing on the ground? Well, drawing directly from Parents' incredibly dense State of the Industry report, which tracks over 99% of U.S. fast charging infrastructure, by the way, we get this number: 4,382. That is the exact number of new fast-charging ports operators opened up in the second quarter of 2026. It's a really strong rebound from the seasonal low we saw in Q1, pushing the year-to-date total to nearly 8,000 new ports. Though, to be fair, it's worth noting this pace is still trailing just a bit behind the peak deployment numbers we saw back in 2025.
Now, what's truly interesting here is the shift in market dominance. For the first time ever, Tesla's all-time share of new builds has fallen below 50%. They added 1,185 new ports, which is about 27% of the quarter's total. That's well below their historic 50% share of the overall installed base. While Tesla is absolutely still growing, no doubt about that, newer players are aggressively expanding their footprints. Companies like Walmart, ChargePoint, and RedEd all cleared 300 new ports this quarter, which means they are punching well above their historical weight. And this brings us to the ongoing connector war, which reveals a highly nuanced reality. You might have heard that absolutely everyone is switching to Tesla's NACS standard. Well, the data shows that while NACS roughly doubled its share of new non-Tesla builds to about 23% this quarter, the vast majority of the total non-Tesla installed base is still dominated by CCS at nearly 75%, alongside 17% for CHDMO. Even at the current rapid pace of new builds, parity is literally years away. So for the near future, mixed connector infrastructure and bulky adapters are just going to be a fact of life for EV drivers.
Next up, we have to look at utilization, essentially the percentage of tracked time a charger is actually plugged in and charging a vehicle. Despite the industry adding 16.4% more stations year over year, the national average utilization rate stayed remarkably flat, holding steady at 15.76% in Q2. So what does this actually tell us? It means demand is growing perfectly in step with capacity. Drivers are filling up the new capacity roughly as fast as operators can get it built.
Looking at the economics of the plug, we see a massive price gap across the country, driven entirely by supply constraints. The national average sits at about 54 cents per kilowatt hour. But in highly constrained, dense markets like Hawaii, prices are soaring to nearly 86 cents. Meanwhile, in lower-density plain states like Nebraska, where simpler fixed pricing keeps rates close to the actual cost of power, it's down to under 43 cents. It just goes to show where you live dramatically impacts what you pay to charge.
That brings us to Act 3, shifting infrastructure, and how operators are overcoming the fixed grid bottleneck.
So, the crucial takeaway so far is this: deployment is growing and demand is perfectly matching it. But operators are facing absolutely massive hurdles. Building those huge 250 kilowatt stations requires jumping through intense political hoops, like we saw back in Act 1, and dealing with severe utility constraints. Look, traditional fixed infrastructure is notoriously slow and expensive. You're looking at 6 to 18 months just for deployment, dealing with expensive utility trenching and massive permit delays. This kind of gridlock has created a huge opportunity for an entirely new market correction: off-grid mobile deployment. We're talking solutions that can be operational in a matter of hours or days, completely bypassing the need for a traditional grid connection.
Which leads right into the second part of Act 3, the mobile charging revolution and rapid deployment EV tech.
We are seeing a new roster of flexible charging tech emerge. I want to quickly walk you through 3 distinct approaches to off-grid power that are making waves right now: Ziggy's robotic mobile platform, Exo's Hub's towable high-capacity energy storage, and L-Charge's clean fuel roadside assistance.
First up on the roster is Ziggy, developed by EV SafeCharge. Imagine a self-propelled robotic EV charger. Instead of a facility spending millions to outfit a parking garage with permanent chargers stuck in dedicated spots, Ziggy can turn any standard parking space into a charging spot on demand. It reserves the spot, charges the car, and get this, it features large video monitors on its sides to display broad advertising across the parking lot. It's a pretty brilliant revenue-generating solution to standard space constraints.
Next, looking at the commercial fleet side, Exos has just expanded its hub lineup of modular, towable, high-capacity energy storage systems with 3 new capacities. The 210 kilowatt-hour entry model starts at around $158,000 for Class 1 and 2 fleets. Then there's the 420 kilowatt-hour mid-tier, which can charge 15 to 20 vehicles and is kept under the 10,000-pound threshold, meaning it can be towed by a standard pickup without a commercial driver's license. And for heavy-duty electric trucks, they have a massive 630 kilowatt-hour unit. All of these completely bypass the months of costly grid trenching.
Finally, there's L-Charge. They take a slightly different angle, combining ultra-fast 60 kilowatt DC fast charging with roadside assistance. These are off-grid rescue vehicles powered by clean fuels, and they go directly to stranded fleets or areas desperately waiting for a grid connection. In fact, they recently secured a major Sourcewell contract through EV Choice, which means municipalities and utilities can now procure these mobile chargers efficiently without going through those agonizingly lengthy bid processes. It's essentially rapid deployment charging delivered right to your bumper.
So, we've looked at the legal battles holding up federal dollars, the actual data showing utilization matching rapid fixed deployment, and the incredible innovations bypassing the grid entirely. As you process this explainer, I'll leave you with this final thought. Based on the political hurdles and the deployment data we've unpacked today, which path will truly power the next generation of transportation? Are we going to rely on massive, politically debated fixed stations, or are we witnessing the dawn of a decentralized, rapidly deployed mobile grid? Let that sink in. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.